Hey, this is Gina Grad.
Hi, this is Teresa Strasser.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Errico.
Hey there. This is Casey Cavalier.
I'm Rocky Rose.
And you are listening to The Jay Franzi Show.
Lucky you.
Welcome to The Jay Franzi Show. A behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franzi.
And we are coming at you live. I am Jay Franzi, and joining me tonight, the Wheezy to my George, my beautiful co-host, Miss Tiffany Mason.
Moving on up.
There you go. I'm so proud of you. Right out of the gate, you're starting strong. If you are new to the show, this is your source for the latest news, reviews, and interviews. And if you would like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jfranzi.com. And if you feel froggy like Mr. Mark here, you can join us live by going to jfranzi.com/live. But before we get started, my friend, let me tell you, question of the day. Who is the best bass player of all time? Who is the best bass player of all time? Don't answer now. Wait, hold off. Please go ahead and put your comments, your thoughts in the comments section, and we will get to that a little bit later in the show. All right, Miss Tiffany. Last week we talked about the Monsters of Rock, we talked about Van Halen, we talked about Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth. We also said long-haired Mark. He must have said it 3 times because like Beetlejuice, he is now showing up.
Poof.
Mr. Mark, how are you?
I am doing well, my friend. How are you doing?
I am very good. We talked about you last week. We talked about you going to the Monsters of Rock with me way back when, or me going with you, actually. And you heard it, and you decided to come on and talk about it with us tonight.
Of course.
We will go ahead and do that here, but let's take that a step further. We mentioned David Lee Roth, and the two of us had an opportunity to also go see David Lee Roth together. So tell me your memories of the night we went to see David Lee Roth, and we'll see if it kind of matches.
Well, it was a fun show. I remember that. We had a great time. But the fun stories about that show, there were 2 of them.
Wait. Nothing embarrassing. Remember.
Not embarrassing. Why would I embarrass you?
Okay.
That's my style.
Fair enough.
I'll embarrass you later. Start of the concert, before the show actually started, we were walking around the arena, and all of a sudden, one of the roadies, they were still doing the sound checks and stuff, and they were just wailing over the PA system. And I remember saying to Jay, wait, I want to go check out what's going on. And you're like, why do you want to see the roadie play? And I said, that's not a roadie. I could just tell by, what was coming out of there. And so we walked over right to where the stage and the last section of seats were. And you could see over there, and sitting right below us was CeCe DeVille, the guitar player from Poison, who was the opening band, down there trying to figure out some kind of problem with the equipment with this roadie. And, he sat there for about 10 minutes. We got to hear him just wailing one-on-one and doing that. And that was the fun beginning of the show. Even more fun at the end of the show when we tried to sneak backstage.
Oh, boy.
Okay, wait, really quick. I want to know. Oh,
I'm sorry, technical difficulties.
Did you have your 110 exposure cameras with you?
That night, probably not. We did at the Monsters of Rock show. We do have a few pictures of that available.
Sorry.
Us just trying to get away with it. It didn't quite work because earlier in the night when we were standing there watching the show, one of the roadies had come up to the women that were standing behind us, who were obviously quite good looking, and gave them backstage passes and said at the end of the show, go over to section, whatever, 1, 2, 3. And we heard that. So we figured, okay, well, why don't we just sneak over with that and we'll pretend that we were invited as well. And we can go backstage and meet DLR. Except it turned out when we got to the section at the end of the show, there was maybe 20 beautiful women and us 2 idiots sitting right there. And we were spotted immediately. The roadie that was giving out the instructions was basically like, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to go back to you 2. What the hell are you doing here? And then there.
Your boobs weren't big enough?
They weren't big enough. Maybe now, but not then.
Fair enough.
That's it. Those were our stories.
All right. Well, it was good having you here tonight, Mark. Well, thank you for joining us. Well, we mentioned David Lee Roth. He is in the middle of his comeback. So if you would like to go see David Lee Roth, he is touring, and he is actually coming to Cincinnati. So I'm going to take the opportunity to go see him. He's playing at the Hard Rock Casino. It's an outdoor venue. It's a small venue. It's on grass. It's just a small stage. It's daytime when they're playing.
That's usually when old people have to go see the music, is when it's daylight, see it home by bedtime.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something? That's two people making old cracks tonight. I got it. This is going to be a good night. All right, Miss Tiffany, did you ever listen to David Lee Roth?
It's going to be a good night because it's at your expense.
Yeah, I hear you. George, you in the house? George is in the house. George, save me tonight, buddy. I really need your assistance. He says, so far it's a cool show, but he says Tiffany's really going to lose it tonight. George says he's expecting Tiffany to be fired soon. No, that's just me adding it. George, don't worry. It was just me. I made that up.
I can see the comments, George. I know.
All right, fine. Be that way.
No. Do I ever listen to David Lee Roth? I don't know. Probably. I mean, that was the era of music that I liked, so.
Mark, rattle off some David Lee Roth song titles for her. She needs help.
Living in Paradise, Yankee Rose, Tobacco Road, Little Ain't Enough. There's all kinds of stuff. He had quite a few hits.
That's 4 right there. That's good.
None of them ring a bell, so I'm going to say probably not, actually.
He did a cover of California Girls that was really popular, too.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe. I'm not doing well in this category, so shall we move on?
I just want to say it's fair, and Mark will be a good assistant because, like, I forget every name in the book. You don't know any name in the book. Mark's like a musical encyclopedia, and he remembers just the dumbest things.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't remember any of that stuff about going backstage or sneaking backstage.
But that could have been 2 days after it happened, too. That's just how it's always been. So.
Fair enough.
You saying that you guys snuck to the last section, that's what we did at the Aerosmith concert. I shared that story. A boyfriend of mine in high school went to go see Aerosmith, and we did the same thing, went all the way to the last section, and you can basically like get the viewpoint of the performers, and we could see his teleprompter, so that was kind of interesting that we thought it was so cool. We knew what song was going to come up before everybody else knew because it was showing on the teleprompter, but cheap thrills, right?
We were all young and dumb.
Yeah, it was the little things. Should stay that way, though. Should stay that way. The little things are what's exciting and important. Okay, well, moving into the news, it is Mr. Aerosmith.
Mr. Aerosmith.
Mr. Aerosmith. Steven Tyler, Joe Perry reunite. Aerosmith's Steven Tyler and Joe Perry performed together for the first time since their 2023 Peace Out tour was canceled, sparking excitement among the fans. However, former Guns N' Roses drummer Matt Sorum stated Tyler's injuries may prevent future tours. I did not get a chance to look up. What are Tyler's injuries?
Vocal injuries.
Shut up.
Yeah, the last tour he made it through, I think it was 3 shows before he had to stop. They think he's going to come back, but when he does come back, they expect it to be more of like a Vegas residency. They don't expect it to be a full-blown tour because what he'll do is he'll sing for a night, take several days off, sing for another night. He can't do multiple nights in a row anymore without running the risk of ruining his voice forever.
Whoa. I did not realize that was going on.
Oh.
All right, next story. Warrant's ultraphobic 30th anniversary. Warrant celebrates the 30th anniversary of their 1995 album, Ultraphobic, with the first time 180G vinyl. What does that mean, Jay?
I believe it's the weight of the vinyl measured in grams.
Okay.
A heavier weight of the vinyl itself, like it might be a...
That's what I was thinking.
We can Google it, but is it really worth Googling? I don't know.
No. I think we're best with assuming and guessing.
Yes. Ask you,
That's
me,
that's why people follow us. Yes.
It's for our accuracy.
They know we're going to give them our best guess.
When I lived in Orlando, the singer Janie Lane of Warrant, he lived there, and during all the street parties, Warrant would actually come out and play. They'd get up on stage and play on the street parties. So it was a good time to get to see them that close and personal.
Yeah.
That was the same days of Von Ray and Matchbox 20.
You were like in the thick of the good times.
In that section, for sure.
Yeah.
Mark and I both grew up in Boston, and you got big bands. You got the band Boston itself. You've got Aerosmith and Extreme and so on. But when I was in Orlando, I got to be with Matchbox 20, Von Ray, Warrant, all those bands. So it was actually good to just hang out with them and help them set up in clubs and do those type of things.
Sell merch in the back with their mom.
With their mom. I haven't talked to his mom recently, Von Ray. Mom Ray.
Get her on the horn. Vonnie Ray?
Mom Ray.
Oh, Mom Ray. Oh, Bonnie Ray. Works too.
Barbara Ray.
All right. Metallica's Kirk Hammett reflects on playing. Lead guitarist, he offered a candid assessment of his skills in an interview with Metal Hammer, discussing his growth and challenges as a musician. I don't think I saw that.
Well, Mark, what do you think? Metallica was always your band.
Yeah, I've always thought that Kirk was a great guitar player. He was always fun to listen to. And when Metallica first came out, that was something we had not heard before. That was the heaviest thing we had ever heard. And, you know, it took a little getting used to, but it was one of those things that was just, you know, mind blowing at the time. And I've always loved Kirk.
It wasn't just heavy. It was also fast.
Yeah, he was very fast. A lot of wah-wah pedal too.
Right. Yeah. I have an appreciation for Metallica, but they were never one of my favorite bands. And like I mentioned last week, I kind of lost respect when they did that documentary that showed them walking around with their therapist. That's all right.
Their balls in their hand.
Glitter balls.
Pretty nuts. So I'm a quick study, Jay.
There you go. You're not fired yet. George says you've been doing good lately.
Lately, the last 3 minutes.
I don't know. I'm assuming he meant last week.
Okay, let's talk about Bryan Adams. He has released his 17th studio album, and I still hate that we have to say studio album. Anyways, Roll with the Punches is what it's called, and it's coming out August 29th, 2025 this year. And it features a mix of rock and ballads, including the new single, Never Ever Let You Go.
I wonder if it's produced by Mutt Lange.
Would it say already?
Yeah, I'm sure that's out already. George, get on that, buddy. Who produced Bryan Adams' new album? But yeah, Mutt Lange is the one who produced the big hits. And Mutt Lange is considered probably the world's best producer. So I know we always say one of the world's best. Mutt Lange is probably the world's best. Produced AC/DC, Back in Black album. He produced Shania Twain's big hits.
Mark, I see you shaking your head yes. How do you know Mutt Lange? Or is it that you appreciate the work as much?
I know him because, like Jay said, he's been one of the biggest producers ever. I mean, he was a big part of the responsibility for Def Leppard's two biggest albums, too, and what shot them through the stratosphere, Pyromania and Hysteria. And he was just one of those guys that, you know, he had the ear for what needed to be done and how to make it next level in terms of like rock, but still be pop and catchy and get on the radio and get on TV when they still played music and, you know, that kind of thing.
Was it On Through the Night?
On Through the Night, High and Dry, Pyromania, then Hysteria.
I think one of the albums before The Drummer Lost His Arms was also produced by Mutt Lange.
That was Pyromania.
That was before The Arm?
Yeah, Pyromania was before. If you go back to the videos, you'll see he's like Rock of Ages and Photograph. He was there, and then it was after that tour when the accident happened.
Yeah.
What was the accident?
Crashed his Corvette.
He was in Europe, and he was on one of those highways that you can drive as fast as you want.
Yeah.
He had a Corvette and got in an accident and lost his arm.
Yeah.
That was a big deal because they didn't want to lose him as a drummer. So they created an entire drum kit that allowed him to play with one arm and obviously his 2 feet. But it became much more of a polished, synthesized sound.
He played barefoot.
Yeah, you know what? I think he did.
I think so.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, here she comes with facts. Oh. Okay, REM. releasing their debut single, Radio Free Europe, to support news organizations Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty, currently under financial threat. Proceeds from the vinyl sales will benefit those two programs.
Do you like REM?
I think I do, because isn't it losing my religion?
You actually got one. I'll give it to you.
I know. I normally say Phil Collins for that one. That's usually the mix-up. And when I saw REM, I was like, sweet, I finally get to say it.
I have respect for him. I just was never the biggest fan.
When that song came out, I remember watching the video on MTV. Like, every time it would come on, I'd come running into the room. Couldn't even tell you one frame from the video now. But I just remember every time it would come on, I had to go in and listen to it. My mom would call me and, Tiff, it's on, it's on.
Once an hour.
Probably.
But that type of music, I mean, I can respect it. I probably would enjoy it more now. But when that music first came out, you were competing with all of the hair metal bands. And that's where my heart lied. I was into the rock and metal music. This was a little too smooth for me.
Yeah. A little too tame. You needed some guitar and some screaming.
That was also getting into the early 90s when, grunge was starting to take over for the hair.
Oh, yeah.
And bands like REM typically fell into the college alt rock, or I was working in a music store at the time. We called it complaint rock because it was just so focused on bitching about things. And that kind of made it lose its charm a little bit for me too, because it's like, enough of this already. I mean, I understand you've got your opinions and, whatever, but I don't want to hear it. I just want to listen to some enjoyable music. But I agree with Jay. Like, I respect them, and they've got some songs that I do like. They've just never been a go-to for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that before, where artists use the platform for their outside views other than music. And, they're popular because we want to hear their music.
And to be fair, that's
a band. I don't want to be fair.
That band, that was their thing. It was like U2. That was their thing. They weren't.
For sure.
They weren't just jumping on something for the moment.
Jay gives them permission if they're like that. He gives them permission.
You're either, if you own it and you're all in, I've got no problem with it. Do your thing. I don't have to like it, but do it. But if you're, and as much as I like Taylor Swift, don't get me wrong, I am a Swiftie. But I don't like when she talks about politics, because it's not her platform. It's not what she typically talks about. That's not her thing. Yeah. So I'd rather just hear her play her breakup music. And if I want to hear the political stuff, I'll go to U2 or REM or something like that.
Well, Hannah became music authority or whatever you want to say, right after the Taylor Swift craze. I know we're still in it, but you know what I'm saying, the big wave, right? So we were listening to a song by Gracie Adams on the radio, some songs she likes, and I was like, what's the name of the song again? So we pulled up and listened to it, and I said, oh, she kind of sounds like Taylor Swift. And Hannah was like, no, she does not. I was like, she kind of does. And it's not really a negative. That's a pretty big compliment. So
Hannah is Tiffany's daughter.
She's 14. Cool. So she's the music concierge all of a sudden.
Because she knows all the new stuff, and we're just with our old people music. That's the
yes. And Taylor's like, so
we're the boomers.
Right.
We kind of are now.
We're not boomers, right? Boomers was before us.
No, we're X. Okay. Generation X. Yeah. Okay. Sonic Temple Festival is going to be in May. Ooh, it's right now. 8th to the 11th. Starts tomorrow in Columbus, Ohio. I'm sure you've got tickets, Jay. You're going to go hit up the festival?
I'm not going to go to the festival. I was talking to somebody about that. I love going to music and stuff, but I do not like crowds. In summertime festivals, when you're out in the heat, and now granted, it hasn't been hot here the past couple of days, but when you're out in the heat and you're just standing there, and no, I want to sit down and be comfortable, preferably backstage, that type of stuff.
You've been spoiled.
No, even if I go to like an arena, I would rather sit in the furthest seat as high up as possible away from people, and then just be able to sit there and enjoy the show, because I want to be able to get comfortable. I'm a little taller than the average person, so when I stand up, I always feel like I'm blocking somebody's view. So I'd just rather be out of the way.
No, I want to be in the thick of it, and I want to be screaming words in each other's faces because we're like so pumped about whatever the song is. I want to jump up and down. I want to be super sweaty next to somebody else that's equally as pumped and excited to be there and loves the songs.
Humidititties.
And you better gear up for July.
George, thank you. He says yes, Mutt Lange.
Nice work, George.
See that, George? You are earning that title tonight.
On it.
If anybody wants to send fan mail, it's george@jfranzi.com.
If it bounces back, just send it to j@jfranzi.com.
It won't bounce back. You could send it to asshole@jfranzi.com. It still comes to me.
All right. Well, if you end up going to that festival, like I'm sure you have tickets to, you're going to see Linkin Park, Metallica, and Korn. Your favorite Metallica?
No, well, I don't mind seeing them. They're, like I said, they're a talented band. And yeah. I hope somebody brings up their bass player later today because he's a great player. But Linkin Park is who I would like to see, especially with that new singer, Emily. I would like to see Linkin Park. I'm not the biggest fan of Korn. It's not bad. It's just very basic.
Yeah.
They're very fast players, but they're...
You get the twitches all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Jay, you're
very fast. Very fast players. Oh, like a bad rash, Tiffany. Like a bad rash.
I know. Moving right along. Okay, welcome to Rockville and Daytona Beach, Florida, just south of me. It is going to be headlined by Green Day, Linkin Park, Korn, and Shinedown. There's another festival. It's going to be Boardwalk Rock 2025 announced. Say that twice. No, say it 5 times really fast. Anyway, it's going to be in Maryland. It's got Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Nickelback, and Shinedown.
Nickelback,
looks
for
like
sure.
Those guys are all on a little circuit there.
I don't care about Def Leppard. I like their first 2 albums, Into the Night, or what was it, Mark? We just said it.
On Through the Night, High and Dry.
On Through the Night and High and Dry. Those are the ones I like. Yeah, those were like, to me, the Raw albums.
Yep. Before they were polished. They were like something like 19 or 20, I think, when they first did that first one.
Now, there's a good example, too, because we talked about Mutt Lange being the best producer in the world, and he makes highly polished albums. I mean, highly polished albums. And I prefer the first 2 because they were raw.
There's more at the party?
I do. Yeah, more. They joined the party. Speaking of joining the party, Bob Bullock worked on the Shania Twain records with Mutt Lange.
Oh.
So he got to witness it firsthand. Mutt Lange brought in Brent Mason, who's arguably one of the, or probably the best guitar player in Nashville. He's just an amazing guitar player. Mutt Lange brought him in to play guitar, and he played 4 measures of a solo over and over again for like 4 or 5 days or whatever it was until Mutt felt like they had the take that he wanted. So he's anal. When I say I'm anal, he takes it to a whole nother level. But next time Bob's on the show, we'll have to get him to tell some of those stories from those days because they did some wild stuff. They recorded that record in the Bahamas, and they may or may not have broken some laws in the making of that album.
I mean, whatevs.
It's only customs. Don't worry about it. Alleged.
All right. Well, we're going to revisit the ACM Awards. There's a little buzz. What? What are you laughing about?
So they're going on, right? Never mind. Just move on. ACM Awards, they do exist.
Set for tomorrow. Yep. They're going to feature performances Jelly Roll, Shabuzi, Megan Moroney, showcasing a mix established of emerging artists. So Shabuzi, last week I said the song I was listening to was called Amen. It was actually Tell Me Something Good. Good news. Good news. That's what it is. So listen for that instead.
Are you sure?
Anyway.
George, do we need to fact check her?
No fact checking needed. Amen is on the radio too, but the one I heard was good news. Just a little bit of good news. Anyway, okay. So Hannah, speaking of Megan Moroney, okay, her and her little BFF, they've been plotting to go see Megan Moroney, okay? Then Hannah says for her birthday in March, she actually wants to go see Dylan Scott. So Dylan Scott's going to be in Orlando. We're going to go see Dylan Scott. Okay, fine. Everything's going to be great. not a crazy price tag, right? No. Then she says she doesn't want to go see him somewhere close. She wants to go out of town to go see him. Me and myself, Orlando's out of town. Anyhow, so today in the car, so our birthday was in March. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't buy any tickets yet. We were just kind of, they wanted to go to Miami. I don't want to go to Miami. So I think Sean was like, I want to buy the tickets to make Hannah happy, but I don't want to buy the tickets because then my wife, will read me the right act. So I never stopped complaining and blame him for anything bad that happened on the trip. So not that I did that. So Hannah says today, she says, okay, I think what I decided is I'm going to go to Key West for my birthday. I'm like, what? Okay.
14, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Just checking.
And then her friend, for her birthday in September, they're going to go see Megan Maroney. And I was like, these girls have been trying to see Megan Maroney forever. First of all, I don't think her music is that great. It all sounds the same, and I'm already bored of it. Like, I don't know. Not a fan.
Hate mail goes to Tiffany at jfranzy.com.
Tiffany. Yeah.
She's taking it with pride tonight.
Yeah. Because,
Megan,
I'm not
if you'd like to
excited
come
about
on the
that.
show and talk to us about it, it's jfranzy.com/live.
So, yes. So, I don't know if we have Megan Maroney in our future or not, but it's kind of looking like it.
Probably not anymore.
Yeah, we probably still are.
Okay.
Yeah, probably still. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Kelsey Ballerini defends genre crossovers. So we've talked a lot about genre crossovers. In a recent interview, Kelsey Ballerini addressed criticism of artists like Beyonce and Lana Del Rey venturing into country music. She emphasized that country music is rooted in storytelling and should be inclusive, urging skeptics to reconsider their stance. I think it's just hate against the Beyonce, right? I don't think it's all crossover.
I have no problem with anybody joining any genre. I mean, Jelly Roll and what's the other dude's name? I can't remember his name.
Post Malone.
Post Malone. Are you sure it's Post Malone? I mean, if he played with one or two more artists, I might be able to remember his name. But between Jelly Roll and Post Malone playing as, crossing over, I mean, I have no problem with any of that because I think that's truly who they are. They're just going a little further, down the path of their life, where I don't think Beyonce is. I think she's posing. So,
Yeah.
Lana Del
I think
Rey,
it's a marketing thing.
I think if she were to do some country music, I don't think that would be a bad thing for her. She's kind of on the line.
Do you think she's maybe Girls Club, Kelsey Ballerini sticking up for them? Or do you think she wants to cross over and so she wants to, say like, oh, I've been sticking up for this the whole time?
Yeah, I guess that's possible. I didn't think about it that way. She might want to do a little bit of pop stuff. Maybe collab.
Because I think that they have played some of her stuff before.
And yeah, she's a crossover artist. I mean, I could see that.
Hannah and I love this song by Brandon Lake. It's called A Heartfelt Hallelujah. And it's kind of grungy. I mean, it's a little bit of a grittier Christian song. And I almost passed out because it came on secular radio the other day. And I was like, Hannah, like they're playing Brandon Lake. What is going on? It's kind of cool. All right. Well, Miss Reba McEntire. She's celebrating 50 years in country music. I'm seeing that she continues to perform live Fancy, remaining one of her favorite songs to perform.
It's a great song.
I actually interviewed a good friend of mine. They became a huge sensation on YouTube. Smelly Belly, that was their channel name. The kids have grown up, and so they've revamped their image a little bit. But when the kids were little, it was called Smelly Belly. And Tara is the mom's name. And Tara kind of had that story play out. So it was interesting to talk to her about the song and, what she thought about it. Did you ever interact with Reba?
I've never worked with her, but I've indirectly, Jeff King was on the show. He's played on all her records and he goes on the road with her. He can't say enough. That's his main artist. He's out with Brooks and Dunn right now. But I think if you would ask him who his main artist is, I think he would say Reba. He's been on all the TV shows, all the late night shows with her and stuff. And her studio was awesome. I told you she used to have the heliport on top of it, and they had to shut that down because she was disturbing all the other studios in Nashville. So, yeah, everybody I know that has a connection to her loves her.
Didn't we see a story that she fell in love with that co-actor on...
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
No, she didn't fall in love with you, Jay. There's a show that she was on. Why can't I remember the name of it? Anyway.
Reba?
No.
It was the name of her show.
Right, she had another show came out not too long ago. Maybe, I don't know, 3 years ago or
George,
something.
what was the name of Reba's other show?
Yeah. George, tell us.
George is going to he's never going to come here again.
He's like, that's it. These people are using
They're putting me to work. I just came here to watch a show, and now I'm working.
Now I have to Google everything for these morons. Well, I was never so shocked as when I found out that my father-in-law, that is like his big crush, is Reba McEntire.
I could see it. It wouldn't be my normal choice. But
nope, it's not your type. It's not your type.
We've established I have a type.
She is a little bit chiseled like you like, though.
Well, I could
like
see
you like the really defined...
the power that she has.
Yeah.
I appreciate the talent. As long as she's singing, I could be with her all day.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to this honors and inductions. And Mr. Kenny Chesney is joining the Country Music Hall of Fame. He is set to be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year, probably with their big hoopla that they're doing with their 50 years, bringing people in alongside June Carter. I know we've talked about her before, June Carter Cash, sorry. And Tony Brown, we talked about him before. This honor took Chesney by surprise as he recounted to an intimate audience. That doesn't make sense to me. At
Tiffany.
Hall of Fame announcement.
You're fired.
The announcement in Nashville. So
we mentioned Tony Brown, and Tony Brown is one of the old school traditional style producers out of Nashville. He's one of the best. He's amazing. I would say there's probably 5 producers out of Nashville that stand leaps and bounds above everybody else, and Tony Brown's one of those for sure. But Kenny Chesney's got some good music. It's commercial. It's sing-songy, and I like it. It's got its place. It's party type stuff.
Well, we had neighbors in Minnesota, and they loved Kenny Chesney. And then her husband kind of resembled Kenny Chesney, like in stature. Shout out Joe Marthaler if you're listening. But his wife, Peg, just absolutely loved Kenny Chesney. So he was always trying to, Chesney himself up for his bride. But his music would come on and the world would stop and she would just sing along and go somewhere else in her mind. Probably with Kenny.
All right, folks. Question of the day. Who is the best bass player of all time? It's a tough one. Mark, you're the guest. You want to take the honors and go first? Give us one.
I got to go with the tie between Geddy Lee and Steve Harris.
I literally just said give us one. He started with 2.
Yes.
He fires people for that.
Overachiever.
He's an overachiever. Tell us why.
Just because the intricacies of what they play in their musicianship and that they're, just so different and varied and unique. And, I can hear either of them playing in a song, even if I don't know it's one of their songs, and can usually identify that that's them. There's very few musicians that are like that. Eddie Van Halen, obviously not bass, but guitar, but was one of those people. And to me, on bass, Geddy and Steve are those two kind of guys.
George agrees with you, Geddy Lee. I'm going to go ahead and reserve my right to vote until later. So, Miss Tiffany, do you have any favorite bass players?
I do.
You do?
I do. I remember from previous episode, you talked about being a bassist. So I would say Jay Franzi.
Oh, nice.
And I did see a pretty mean bassist when I went to go see Cersei. So I would have to say Rich Labuti.
All right. Again, you said 2, so you're
fired as well.
You're not following instructions either.
You're an overachiever as well. Jay could only come up with 1. That's the problem. He's just feeling inadequate.
Yes, that's exactly it. I would have to pull my name out of the running since I'm probably the worst bass player there has ever lived. But nonetheless, Rich Labuti, on the other hand, Cersei, He's good. I'll give it to you.
Well, you can play 2 guitars, one of them being a bass.
He started on bass, and he plays the bass pedals now when he's playing live.
How many bassists can play the bass and the bass pedals?
I don't know. All right, let's move on. Caden Collins. I'll use his last name because he was a guest on the show. Caden Collins. He says Scotty Simpson.
Oh, no
Scotty
surprise
Simpson,
there.
also a previous
Oak Ridge
guest on the
Boys.
show, and he plays for the Oak Ridge Boys. All right, I'll take that. He also says Eric Harley Brown. I don't know who Eric Harley Brown is.
George, Google it.
Now you're taking orders from Mark.
You're
Holy
a quick
cow.
study, Mark.
Oh, that is funny. Rena Freeman Watts. She gets her full name because she's been on the show before. She says Flea. It's not bad. Not a bad choice at all. Charlotte says Roy, but I don't know Roy who. Charlotte, if you want to chime in and fill. Oh, wait. Lux Limousine follows up with saying it's Roy Husky Jr. Joe says Jaco Pastorius.
Good choice.
No, I'm going to go ahead and write it down. If we're going to vote for the best of it all, Jaco is up there for sure. Jaco played with what? The Weather Report? So, one of the best in the world by far. Joe also says John Entwistle and James Jamerson. I would say James Jamerson for sure. What are your thoughts, Mark?
I don't know James Jamerson, actually, so I'll defer to you. You say he's good.
I don't have a mark your fired button, but if you find yourself coming back again, be prepared to have a fired button.
Okay.
He lets all the power go to his head.
That's what happens. You give me buttons, I'm going to use them. Valerie is George's wife, and she comes on and she says, yes, George is my favorite bass player. She does say, but she's a little biased. All right.
Yeah.
Joseph, buddy, he says, obviously the one and only Jay Franzi.
Smart. See?
Smart, or are you just sucking up? Joe, are you sucking up?
Just take it. It's fine.
Dave says Paul McCartney. But he says, if you're going to talk about studio players, James Jamerson or Carole King. Carole King, she's a studio musician, and she's extremely well known, and she's a little older. She's played on thousands of hit records. So Carole King is definitely a good choice. Another Joe. Joe chimes in and says John Paul Jones, bass player from Led Zeppelin. Scotty Simpson, bass player for the Oak Ridge Boys, with us in the house. He gets his full name because he's been on the show. Scotty Simpson is not only thanking
Caden.
He's not only thanking Caden, but he is chiming in with Pinot.
Like Pinot Noir? I concur. Oh, Pinot Grigio.
Sandy just followed up and says, no, Scotty, I really think you're at the top.
Aw.
I love you, Scotty.
He's a session bassist.
There you go.
And that's why Scotty knows him. He has played bass for a number of acts. So The Who, John Mayer Trio, Gary Newman, Paul Young, Don Henley, David Gilmour, Go West, Tears for Fears, Nine Inch Nails, Jeff Beck, Adele, and D'Angelo. So
he's played on a few records.
Pretty credible.
All right. I don't want to leave anybody out, so I'm going to go through these and try to get through them fairly quickly. Amanda follows up with, yes, Jaco for sure. Brandon says, I agree with Mark, Geddy. Carlos says Flea. Emily, now this was probably going to be my vote. Should I save Emily to the last as well? Or should I spoil it now?
This is going to be your vote?
I think so.
Okay, then I think save it to the end.
All right. Emily, please hang on.
Please hold.
Please go on standby. Derek
There
says,
will not be any hold music.
Says James Jameson. He's from the Funk Brothers. Laura says Paul McCartney. Again, Paul McCartney, songwriter. I don't really think of him as a talented musician. Do you think the Beatles were talented, Mark? Like musicians?
I do. I think they're great songwriters. I think they're talented musicians. But would I put Paul McCartney at the top of a bass player list? No. Like, he's a traditional bass player, and he does a good job, and he's obviously made a little more money at than I have. But when you think of like top bass players, he's not somebody that typically comes to mind to me. Like, it's just more standard bass playing, I think.
Okay, let me take that a step further. Tangent. Who do you think is a better vocalist, Paul McCartney or Kelly Clarkson?
Kelly Clarkson.
Thank you. Sorry, Bob.
You get to stay.
You've earned your way back on the show. All right.
Wait, I want to ask you guys both.
Yes.
When you're considering the criteria for being the best bassist, what do you? It's somebody who can use the whole. Is it called the strat? The whole strat, the neck, the whole neck. They can, and don't do that. Okay, so they can use the whole neck, or is it how fast they play? Is it that they collaborate well with others? Like, what are you basing this off of?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
I think, yes. I mean, when you're talking about the average bass player, hopefully they can play the whole neck, and they can play the different parts of the neck at the proper times. So you get the right tone for the right feel, the right song. But I think it's how you play the notes. It's not necessarily what notes you're playing, it's how you're playing them, and if you're playing them appropriately. So you're playing a tasteful piece for a slower song maybe, but maybe you have the ability to rip and play fast on a song that might need that. Like a Metallica song, that's part of what makes that bass player. Mark, do you remember what his name is? It's something that's very hard to pronounce.
Robert Trujillo.
Trujillo, thank you.
It's because you're from Arizona.
He is a monster.
I know the double L thing. That's
right. I would not have gotten that right. But he's a monster at the bass for that style of music for sure. But like some of these others that have been mentioned, James Jamerson or even Marcus Miller is coming up. Dennis says Marcus Miller. Marcus Miller is a killer bass player. I mean, just one of the best. But it's knowing what to play, when to play it, the feel of how you're playing it, how your fingers are touching the fretboard. Mark, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a lot of, what you're talking about too, but it's not even necessarily, speed or how many notes they play, but knowing what to play or how to keep in the groove or what kind of intricate bass lines they're doing and, underneath everything, because, bass and drums form the rhythm section of a song. And, how are they in lockstep and what kind of bass lines are they playing to, complement everything else that's going on in the song. And, speed is part of it, intricacy of what they're doing, like different scales, what their choices are that they're making when they're coming up with their bass lines. And, you hear a uniqueness in some of these players that you just don't hear in other people unless you're trying to copy what they're doing.
Do you think it's fair to say it's almost like, how we talked about distinctive voices? It's like some players just play at a skill or whatever that it's kind of like having a unique voice almost.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique voice. Like Mark mentioned earlier, when you hear somebody perform without seeing them, and you can still tell who it is, and it's like having a large vocabulary. You don't use it at all times, but when you need to use it, it's there for you. And it's also being poetic. Anybody can read you a story, but some people can just read you a story and draw you in.
Sure.
So it's the same thing with all of this stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Aaron says Les Claypool. He played with Primus, still plays with Primus. Extremely, extremely talented. And again, it's a whole different language when he plays. He's not playing English.
He does a lot of slap bass too, doesn't he?
It's one of those things where it's just like this at all times. His hand's just like shaking, like he's convulsing.
Too much copy.
Tanisha, new here. Thank you for being here with us. But Tanisha says Bootsy Collins. Parliament Funkadelic.
Yep.
I have to say it slow. Mark, you'll realize here, I am not good at speaking fast, and Tiffany's not good at remembering things. You think I'm bad?
You don't have to remind me of that. I've known you almost 40 years.
You think I have a bad memory? Oh, Jason says that we're wrong. He says, Jay, Mark, you are wrong. If we're talking about Metallica, we're talking about Cliff Burton.
Oh, absolutely. But, well, Metallica has had 3 phenomenal bassists. I just didn't mention Cliff because Jay was talking about Robert, but Cliff was a beast as well, too. And he was a very musically inclined person. Like, he knew a lot of music theory and was a lot of the reason that their first couple of albums sounded the way they do, because of his ear for things and the way they arranged it and what he brought to the table. Cliff was a madman.
All right. Due to time, I'm going to move even faster.
That's what all the guys say.
True statement. We don't have to go fast because the feeling is the same to us. Nate.
Fair enough.
Nate says Billy Sheehan when he played with Mr. Big, and also he played with David Lee Roth. But Billy Sheehan is one of my favorites. Yes. It's hard to narrow this list down. It's a tough list.
We saw Billy, that David Lee Roth show we were talking about. Billy was the bass player at the time, Steve Vai on the guitar. That was a hell of a band.
Yeah, that's a talented band. David Lee Roth had no problem with picking some of the best players in the world, and he had to. If he was going to go on the road and compete, like a reason for leaving Van Halen and compete at all, he had to have the best of the best. Yeah. So, and he did.
A lot of people say that first album, Eat 'Em and Smile, they say that was what the next Van Halen album should have been instead of what Van Halen came out with Sammy, which was a great album in its own right.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Harper says, what are we doing? We're not mentioning Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. There's just too many. Greg says Donald Duck Dunn. Mm-hmm. Jordan says, what about Sting? And Riley, I appreciate you being here and all, but I cannot agree with Mike Dirnt from Green Day being one of the best bass players. Sorry. And Alicia, forget it for sure. Nikki Sixx is not one of the best bass players ever.
I think even Nikki will admit that.
Right. No, I mean.
It's a songwriter, though.
All right. I think we have enough to cast our votes. So let me go down the list of what I've made note of. And
whoa. Aren't we going to get your pick?
Oh, you want my pick?
Yeah. What was it, Emily? She's been holding for a long time.
Sorry. It's going to be even worse if you messed up.
Pisses me off more than when I hold this whole time.
It is Emily. See, you were afraid that I wouldn't be able to go a long time. Guess what? Emily. All right. Emily, not yet. When I lived in Nashville, I took bass lessons from a guy named Reggie. Reggie was an absolutely amazing musician. And Reggie had a handful of brothers. He was the eldest of the brothers, and he taught all of his brothers how to play their instruments, including the bass player that I like. So I took lessons from Reggie, who also taught my favorite bass player. Reggie and the brothers have a band called the Wooten Brothers. If you ever have a chance to go see the Wooten Brothers, when I lived there, they played at 3rd and Lindsley every Wednesday night. Small, intimate venue, great place to go see them. But the Wooten Brothers bass player was Victor Wooten. Victor Wooten plays for Bella Fleck and the Flecktones. And judging by the look on you and Mark's face, neither one of you know who he is. Man, it's going to be a hard one for me to put on the top of this.
It was a good story, Jay.
Emily says Victor Wooten. All right, fine. Emily, I agree with you. But let's see who ends up on top. Because I picked Lizzie Hale, and somehow Pat Benatar ended up on top. So, and Lizzie Hale, sorry. I mean, your song, your latest, Darkness Always Wins. Mm-hmm. Great song, but man, it's a slow start. Slow start. I've been listening to it more and more just to see if I still agree with that theory.
Yeah.
I do like the song a lot. All right. Here's the list. Bootsy Collins. We'll put him up against Jaco.
I'm going to say Bootsy because the name is cool.
I can understand your theory. Mark, can we get a more technical response out of you?
I would probably go with Jaco over the two of those. But to be fair, I'm not familiar with either deep catalog, just a few songs each. So.
I'm going with Jaco. Absolutely.
Wow.
All right. Let's go with Les Claypool or Flea.
I'll say Flea because most people said Flea. Or it was mentioned multiple
technical
times.
Answer, Mark.
That's a tough one. I would probably go with Les over Flea on that, but I think Flea's got some great stuff too.
George, but you can chime in at any time or any of these as well, but I am going with Les as well.
Yeah.
All right. Then we got...
Like, y'all don't like my logic or what?
No, I love your logic.
I can't persuade you guys to come to my side.
Oh, George says Flea. That would give us a tie, George. Really?
Because George is on my side.
All right. We'll hold on to both of them until the next round. James Jamerson or Victor Wooten? We already know who I'm going with. Tiffany?
Victor Wooten. How fun is it to say the Wooten Boys or the Wooten Band?
The Wooten Brothers.
The Wooten Brothers. That's what I said.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I heard it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark?
I would go with Victor on there. I don't even know who James is, and Victor, I know minimal stuff, but I've heard of him, so.
All right.
Just my criteria there. Tiffany, I'm with you.
I heard of him too tonight, about 10 minutes ago.
All right. We're moving on to the next round. It's going to be a tough one. I am going to put Jaco up against Les Claypool.
I mean, Jaco's more fun to say.
Mark, for the technical answer?
Probably Jaco. But I got to ask, what happened to Geddy? He got a few votes earlier. Where did he go?
All right, we'll put Geddy back on the list. He was so good, he skipped round one.
Oh, okay. That was it. He got the golden buzzer.
He got the golden buzzer for sure.
He advanced a couple of rounds.
So, as far as Jaco and who were we on? Jaco and Les Claypool. Tiffany, you chose Jaco because you like the way it sounds. And Mark, who did you choose? Jaco. That's a tough one for me.
Come on, say it. You know you want to.
Jaco is probably the better bass player, but I like Les Claypool better. So, sorry, Les. Jaco.
Oh, wow.
All right. And then Flea or Victor Wooten?
I mean, you can't get a more fun name to say than Wooten. Wooten Brothers. It's like woohoo. Wooten.
Mark.
I'm going with Flea only because I know his work. And I don't know much of Victor's.
All right. I'm going with Victor, so Victor's advancing. George says he can't spell Wooten. I think you spelled it just fine right there, buddy. It looks like it's right. All right. Geddy Lee or Jaco?
Geddy for me.
I just like Mark, so I'm going to say Geddy because I like Mark.
George, Geddy Lee or Jaco? I am saying Jaco. I need George to chime in to give me any chance whatsoever.
George, think long and hard about it. Choose wisely.
He says Geddy Lee. George, where is it?
Yes.
George, you're fired.
Oh.
All right, so Jaco, buddy, sorry. Geddy Lee or Victor Wooten for the win. This is what happened to me on the other one.
I think we know my answer on this one.
Oh, you're still going with your answer, huh?
We're going with Geddy.
I'm going with Wooten.
George, Geddy Lee or Victor Wooten?
I want it to be spelled like Whutin. Wooten.
Okay.
Wooten.
You could want that, but you'd be wrong. All right. I'm going with Victor. So we've got 2 for Victor and 1 for Geddy. Oh, damn it, George. And George says Geddy. We have a tie. What do we do in case of a tie? Somebody please break our tie.
I need somebody help.
Oh, that's not what I don't want a buzzer. Hold on. Let's try that again. Holly.
Jay.
Holly says
You're
Victor
fired.
Wooten.
Oh, the final vote came in.
Jay, you're awesome.
No!
Just got to go with whatever AI Trump says.
Effort. Why do you get that you're awesome, but we get fired?
I don't know. That's just what he said.
Is that what AI Trump said? Okay.
Holly, thank you. Victor
Oh,
Wooten,
gosh.
I appreciate you. All right, no, I'm okay with that.
All right. Bill Burr played his special Drop Dead Years. It's recently dropped, and it is praised for showcasing personal growth and artistic evolution, positioning him as a contender for one of the greatest stand-up comedians ever. I know that you are a big fan, Jay. His willingness to be honest about his current self, despite audience expectations, has been highlighted as a bold move.
He is from where?
Boston?
What color is his hair?
Red.
Red. He comes across as a Bostonian doing comedy.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate the fact that he's straightforward, but he is like real hardcore Bostonian to me. And some of his stuff, you don't know when he's kidding. And so it comes across pretty harsh sometimes. But anyways, I like him overall.
I like anybody who can be real.
Oh, I love Bill. I think he's great. And I think part of it is exactly what you're saying is the whole Boston connection there too, because I think we understand the attitude, and that's what makes it even funnier.
He's a masshole for sure.
But yeah. No, I think he's great, and I keep waiting for him to come around here so I can go see him live.
Mr. Conan O'Brien, another Bostonian, redheaded.
So he got red hair.
Yeah. Received the prestigious Mark Twain Prize for American Humor at the Kennedy Center, celebrated with Netflix special May 4th, featuring tributes from comedians like John Mulaney, Will Ferrell, and Bill Burr.
Bill who?
Bill Burr.
I like Conan as well.
I'm a big fan of Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Them saying that comedians like that. Will Ferrell, seriously, in any movie, I'm there for it, front and center, the whole movie too. I'm not messing around my phone or nothing.
Yeah, who was it? Grayson Russell that was on the show that said he was just super nice.
I think I would like to have Will Ferrell be uncle or something, or cousin at holidays. I think I told you, right? That's my measure if I really like them or not, is if I start envisioning holidays. A little bit of bourbon and a funny person.
You are a little disturbing from time to time.
Why?
I don't know.
Bourbon's delicious.
No, I'm not talking about the bourbon part. I'm talking about your theory of, I like to picture them at my holiday tables.
Yeah. Yeah, can't you imagine just shooting the crap with them, and then you go to take a sip and they say something funny to one of your kids, and then you got bourbon coming up through the nose,
That's exactly how I picture my holidays.
I have a very active imagination, Jay.
True story.
Anywho, David Spade, latest stand-up special is Dandelion. It's now streaming on Prime Video. I can't wait to check it out. The special features Spade's signature sardonic humor. Speaking of a large vocabulary that you don't use very often, sardonic humor, touching on celebrity culture, personal anecdotes, and life observations.
Yeah.
I think he'd be pretty funny.
I think he's funny. He's one of those acquired tastes.
I think he could also be a little bit, could go a long way.
Yeah.
I like Spade. The last couple of stand-up specials of his I've seen. I thought they were great. I like his sarcastic sense of humor and his just kind of way of approaching. Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that time when Chris Farley and David Spade were doing all those movies together. Dan Aykroyd and I liked all those movies and his sarcasm and good comedic timing.
All right.
Dave Chappelle recently jokes about Kevin Spacey's special having sparked backlash, with some viewers upset over references to Spacey's alleged harassment victim. Yeek.
I don't have any problem with it. Mark, does it bother you when people make jokes like that?
No, because I think context is key. And, when they're talking about certain subjects or talking about certain people, they are making digs at it, but they're also making jokes around the subject. And to me, there's pretty much no subject that is off limits as long as the context is correct. I mean, if you're doing it just to be a jerk, or you're doing it just, to be controversial, or you're doing it for those kind of reasons, those are the wrong reasons. But if you've got something to say and there's something around it, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It might not be your taste, but, that doesn't mean that just because you don't like it, the rest of the world shouldn't be allowed to like it either.
Okay, well, my song was God and Guns N' Roses.
That's true.
Tyler Braden.
All right.
Well, I'm not asking you.
I was going to give a little bit of history before you just jump in it. You talk about men wanting to finish fast. Holy cow! I was going to say we've added this.
I told you Metallica.
It's true. Mark, she chose Metallica as the music to make Whoopee to. I said it gave whole new meaning to Enter Sandman. But anyways, let's not go there. Let's not take our left right now. We started a new segment called Recommendations, where we would like to recommend music because of Tiffany's vast knowledge of the entertainment industry. We would like to recommend some music. So we have chosen to go back and forth. Last week I introduced a song by a band called Circe. Now, Miss Tiffany.
So Tyler Braden, and the song is God and Guns N' Roses. And I did look up barely a little bit of information about him. And he is from Slapport, Alabama. And he has actually performed with Luke Bryan and Brooks and Dunn.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that the end of that story? This is your pick.
Okay, so I will tell you why I chose it. So I like that Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith. That's I just have such strong memories of being on the bus. Shelley McKeever, her pink tape recorder. She put the tape in. We listened to the whole way to swim lessons, and so it's fun for me that they. It's called God and Guns N' Roses, and they allude to the Guns N' Roses titles, and it's just kind of clever. And I think I've mentioned before, I love really clever lyrics, and so I like the intertwining of the titles of some of the Guns N' Roses songs. And I like, there's like a little weird thing when he says the word side, he sings the word side. When he says of the B-side, she knew all of B-side or whatever. I don't have the lyrics memorized. But anyway, when he says the word side, it's like a little, not vocal acrobats necessarily, but there's like a little switch of the notes right there. And I think that that's kind of cool. Thank you. An inflection.
Very
yes.
Cool. Mark, let me just point out to you here the rules of this game. It wouldn't just be a segment of ours if we didn't turn it into a game. So the rules of this game, we like to think of the quality of the song, the quality of the performance, and then the quality of the production. So that way we can rate our scale on whatever that is, and we can kind of decide whether or not we think it's a quality song. Fair enough?
Sure.
All right. So you got anything else to add to this one, Miss Tiffany?
I will add this, that it is Paradise City, and there's another song out by Russell Dickerson that just came out, and it's called Happen to Me. And he's talking about her being on the dance floor singing to Paradise City. And remember we talked about when the song came out about selling the truck. They had to sell the truck because it reminded them too much of the girls.
Was that a country song?
Yes.
No, I get confused because normally when I think of country, I don't think of a song about a truck.
Yeah. There's a truck in there. So 2 songs came out about a truck at that time. And so I think it's interesting that now it's happening again where these 2 songs came out and they're both talking about Paradise City.
Clever. I see how you tied it in there. All right. Well, Mark, do you want to give a general thought on the song itself?
I agree with Tiffany that like it's cool with the mentioning of some of the Guns N' Roses songs in there. So if you're familiar with Guns N' Roses, it's always cool to hear that. You mentioned where he's talking about the word B-sides. Does anybody even know what a B-side is anymore? Like that's the biggest question. Sneaking that lyric in there, and people are like, what does that mean?
How do I flip this MP3?
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, Mark.
I mean, I agree with both of you. I think the song's clever. So if we're going to talk about that first portion of our rating system, the quality of a song, I think lyrically it's a really good song. But I mean, it's a Nashville song. They write stories all day long. They write very clever stories. I think that's a very good one. Rain Ball, he is one of the songwriters, and he's very clever. I'll give it to him. So I appreciate the cleverness of that. But if we take it a step further, Rain and Sam Martinez are the two producers from the song. When you bring two producers in, a lot of times they can butt heads when producing a song because the whole point of a producer is to guide a project the way you think it's going to be. So
Sure.
These two people are different, where Rain wrote the song and Rain was also involved in the editing of the song. So if he's involved in the editing of the song, that tells me he wrote the song and he's editing and arranging it the way he wants to hear it as the engineer. However, when Sam came in, Sam is the person who actually recorded it. So that's telling me he's the person running things when their musicians are playing. So Rain is also a performer. So he was in the room playing while Sam's recording. And then it probably leads me to believe that Sam is more of a technical engineer and probably led the session and probably assisted in the mixing. So I think to me, those two different types of producers blend well in this case.
Would a band or a artist or whatever know to request two producers, or how do you end up with two producers? It feels to me like too many cooks in the kitchen.
I think it's up to probably the lead producer. They bring in somebody who specializes in something else. A lot of times people call them session leads or lead musician instead of two different producers. So like when Bob Bullock is producing a record, he's got Chris Lusinger in there with him. Chris Lusinger is the one communicating the technical information to the musicians. He's the one charting the songs, and he's the one communicating how those charts are going to be read and performed. Where Bob is talking about feeling and sounds, Chris is talking about technical stuff. In the past, I've worked a lot with a guy named Jim Cristaldi. We've produced records together. Jim Cristaldi is extremely musically gifted, and he's good at performing all the instruments. He's good at writing the songs. He's good at all of that stuff, where I'm more of the engineer. So even though I know what I want to hear and I'll do the editing and arranging and that type of stuff, Jim is the guy who's guiding things musically. So Jim would be the Chris Lusinger and I would be the Bob Bullock in that scenario. That's the way I think of it anyway.
Okay.
Not to go too far off track here, but because we're talking about the producers, I forget the guy's name, but the guy who just produced the new Hailstorm record, he took an extremely different approach with Hailstorm. And that's why the record sounds as different as it does. He took an approach where Lizzie Hale came in and said, okay, these are the songs that we've been working on. Here's, 10 to 15 songs. Let's go ahead and work through them. And he said, no, I'm going to go ahead and push those aside. He goes, I want you to write songs right now.
Whoa.
And as they were writing them right then and there, he's pressing record. So he's recording their thoughts and turned those thoughts into the finished recording. He didn't even have them re-record it. Literally, I'm pressing record as you're thinking, and I'm going to turn these thoughts into the finished recording. So that's why the album has a completely different feel than their previous records.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to go listen to all of it now.
Yeah. Anyways, so if we're going to take it from the three pillars that we discuss, let's start with the quality of the writing. What are your thoughts on the writing?
Epic.
Give me a scale of 1 to 3. 3 being the best.
I mean, I have to go 3 because I like clever.
Okay, Mark, 1 to 3.
I would go 2 because I think it is clever, but at the same time, I mean, you've got a few Guns N' Roses songs mentioned in there, but other than that, I mean, it's a typical, storytelling, kind of song in there. There wasn't anything that stood out to me beyond that.
That's a tough one. I give it 3 because it's clever, and I think they did a good job writing it. But I see your point. If we had a half scale, I'd probably go 2.5. But because we don't.
I mean, it's our show, Jay.
It is our show.
We can do whatever the F we want to do.
You know what? That's true. But then that would mean I'd have to remember math, and I'd have to start writing things down. So I'm going to go with 3. So we've got an 8 on the start here. All right. So the next is the performance. How well do we think the song was performed? So I'll start there. I mean, we used Nashville musicians, we used Nashville producers, and we sang in one of the best studios in the world, and we did all this stuff. I'm going to say that the performance, to me, was a 3.
I agree, and I agree because I like the tonality of his voice, and I like that little inflection that he does when he says the word side, sings the word side.
It has a haunting feel at the beginning, the intro.
Yeah, it does.
As well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good word. I was trying to think of what I wanted, melancholy, but that wasn't really right. Yeah, a little haunting.
Mark, your thoughts on the performance aspect of the song?
I thought it was good. I would go with probably a 3 on there since we don't have half stars, so I can't do 2.5. But yeah, I mean, it sounded good. It was good quality. The musicians sounded good. The vocals sounded good. Sounded good to me. Well produced. Yeah.
3 across the board. That's 9. All right. Now the actual production, the recording, the mixing, the editing, or the mastering of the recording. How well do you think the production was?
I mean, like you say, it's a Nashville recording. It's clean. He's not off anywhere. There's not any. Sometimes do you ever notice like the backups are equal or almost louder, or somehow they stand out some way, shape, or form? I mean, you probably know how to do that, but I don't like that. Like, I want to be tricked. I want to think it's one voice. And on that recording, I'm tricked.
There you go. Mark, thoughts on the production?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I said a minute ago, too, that I thought the production sounded, good. And, then again, in today's day and age with the digital tools that we have, I mean, you, Jay, know better than anybody with your Pro Tools background that, pretty much any production that's done professionally is going to sound pretty damn good unless you've got a producer that's going for something really weird and it just doesn't land correctly. But I thought the production value of it was good. Yeah. So I go 3.
Yeah, I agree. Dave Klaus is the engineer who mixed it. I mean, I think he did a great job. I mean, when you're dealing with those amazing players in the best studios and all of that stuff, you've got good material to work with. But like Miss Tiffany said, even though you have good material to work with, it still takes a true artist to be able to blend it and mix it together and make it sound as good as it could possibly sound. And in my opinion, even though as a mix engineer, there might be things that I would do differently, I think this person did what they felt was the best. And I think they did a great job. So Dave Klaus, good job.
Way to go.
So I would give it a 3. So that's 9. So it's shy of a perfect score by one point.
I know good music.
Jay, let me ask you a question based on something you just said there. When you listen to music typically, do you usually listen to it from an engineer standpoint or do you listen to it from a fan standpoint?
Engineer standpoint. I mentioned this on the show once before. If you were to look at my Apple library, my library of music, it is sorted by engineer and producer. And part of that's because I used to teach at the engineering college, and when I would teach the students, I would, if they mention a song, I would say, well, that was mixed by this person, or that was engineered by this person, or produced. And that way, it teaches the students what to look for, but it also allows you to get to know who's in the industry. Most people aren't going to hear the name Dave Klaus, and they should, because he's the talent that brought that song to life. If it wasn't for him, that song could have easily been mixed poorly, and it could take the magic away from it. Mm-hmm. So I think I listen to this 3-pillar system, but I think I always start it with the production, because if the production doesn't sound good, I don't want to listen to the song. It's got to sound good first, And then I can get into how well is the song written or how does it make me feel.
Yeah.
Very good.
Same.
George, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it. Please tell us your thoughts as well. Anybody else, if you know the song, tell us your thoughts. But I think it was a good song overall, not a bad pick. I've heard of the song at this point, but I've never listened to it. So it was good to actually take a moment to listen to it. And not only listen to it, but as we said, critically listen to it.
See if you could tear me down when you got on the show.
I don't want to tear you down. No, I want to find good music. That's what I want. That's the whole purpose of this, is to open each other up to good quality music, or great quality music. Let's say that.
Great.
We don't want
music.
good. We want great.
Right.
All right. My chance to recommend one?
Yes, lay it on me.
All right. Maddie, Matty, McRee, Mcree, Maddie McRee. In the song, title track of the album, Closer to More. And it was hard to pick a song, but I'm going with Closer to More.
Okay, I've written it down.
All right, well, what else we got going on?
Well, why don't you tell us about what you have going on?
I would be happy to tell you about what I have going on.
Yeah, who you been talking to?
This week, I had a chance to talk with Sherry Rowe. Sherry Rowe, country artist out of Arizona. We've got Arizona going around the horn tonight.
Arizona in the house.
George wanted to make sure we knew that he was from Arizona as well. We know that, George. We could not possibly forget it. So everybody's from Arizona. And if it wasn't for Mr. Long-Haired Mark here, I wouldn't know anything about Arizona, but Mark had me move out to Arizona to go to Arizona State. And I lasted one semester because of the brutal heat. I changed all my classes to night classes. It was 122 degrees the day I got there. And this was before cell phones. So when I got there and I had to pick up a payphone to call Mark, and I burnt my hand. But I did go back to Arizona State later in life online, and I did finish my program. So it took a while, but I finished that program because the OCD in me couldn't leave it unfinished. But yes, I talked to Sherry Rowe. George says she was amazing. She was a really talented artist, or is a very talented artist, and she was a very good person to talk to. It was fun. But this week, Gina Fritz, that was released on Monday. Gina Fritz is a, I keep saying was, make it sound like these people have passed away. I don't mean that. Gina, you're still with us. We love you.
These has-beens.
Gina Fritz is rock, closer to the metal style of music. Very good artist and very colorful hair.
Oh.
All right. Well, last couple of things I want to mention. I can't go without mentioning my daughters because that's the activities that I seem to do throughout the week. Lucy had another dance competition over at the casino. It was at Belterra in Indiana. Anyways, we were there. She performed again. They got one more competition left this year. It will be in northern Ohio, Sandusky, and that's coming sometime this summer. And that's the one where I want to see my daughter shine. So we will see. And then Bella, of course, this is something for everybody. I need your help. Bella needs your help. My daughter Bella, she has a TikTok account. She has a TikTok account, and she's trying to make it grow, so she's made it public. And she has done a couple videos now of her doing cover tunes of songs with sign language. And she did another one yesterday, I think it was, of a song from Hamilton, the play. And
the really fast one?
Yes. So, and she's doing sign language to it, and it took off like a mofo. I mean, I looked at it this morning, and I was like super impressed that she had 12,000 views on it and, a few thousand likes or whatever.
Wow,
I was like,
that's pretty talented.
Holy cow. On the way home, it was up over 40-something thousand views, and, it was like 7,000 likes and shares.
Well,
and all
first
this
of all,
stuff.
people love that song. And then I can imagine from other of her TikTok videos, she probably has a little attitude, while she's
A lot of attitude.
doing it right. And so then that makes it entertaining to watch. And then just to realize, to do that. And I mean, it's kind of like singing along and dancing almost, kind of, in a way. I mean, it's a skill set, right?
on TikTok, apparently she was looking for 1,000 followers so she can join their TikTok partner program or whatever they call it.
Right. Yep.
And she was a few hundred people shy of that. And she gained it overnight. From all of these views, she gained that overnight. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
you go.
That's amazing.
And she talks
You go
about FND,
far.
which is the disorder that she was diagnosed with, functional neurologic disorder. She talks about that, and then she talks about fashion and her outfits and all that girly stuff.
Yep.
Nonetheless, very proud of her. She did a great job.
Memories with the Beats. I have a new episode coming out, but I'm not able to do as many of the review ones where we go watch live music because my co-host went up to Virginia to take care of some things. That's where she used to live. Her dad still lives up there. She's seeing him. And she ended up with pancreatitis. Had her have her pancreas removed, or I don't really know what you do for that. Anyway.
Did she have it removed already? That's like an emergency thing. She probably did.
Yeah, on Monday.
I was going to ask her to save it for me.
Why do you want to?
I want to see what it looks like. When I had my gallbladder removed, I asked the doctor to save the gallstones for me. And he did. He put them in a jar, and they look like milk duds.
Oh, yeah. They say those all the time. Yeah.
They look like milk duds. Same size. I mean, oh, sorry, I'm a little strange, I guess. I just wanted to see what they looked like.
Yeah,
That was a little strange.
I did not ask for mine. Thanks. So, yeah, that's just you.
My wife's like, why do we have this? I'm like, I just want to see what they were. Now I can't find them. So guess what probably happened to those things?
Lucy.
Lucy, they weren't milk duds.
It's your April Fool's prank next year. Okay, so I am disappointed, but that is what's happening right now with women making memories to a beat. So we'll hopefully get to pick that back up when she's feeling much better. I have tried to find a couple of like fill-ins, and it's kind of fallen short. Well, I took a trip up to Rhode Island to assist one of my clients. That was very fun. Although I was kind of bummed I didn't really get to see anything. You know, like I got in at midnight, and then Saturday was all day at the convention, and I had to call my dear friend Jay to say, can you tell me something about this piece of equipment? And you were very helpful. Thank you very much. Jay to the rescue. Yes. Even from Indiana.
I wish I could have been there because I was supposed to be in Boston that weekend. I could have taken you out. We could have had some cool food. Boston, Mark, I always say Boston, the thing I miss the most is the food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. So that was fun. And then tomorrow, one of my clients is launching their podcast. So that's very exciting. It's called Trust Your Inner Sense. And her daughter has Williams syndrome. It's kind of like Down syndrome. In the second episode, her daughter explains what it is, but she says it very fast. And I'm not familiar enough yet with the syndrome to really speak to it so much. But it was a great interview, the episode number 2. And the lady herself, she has these organic beauty products, and they have affirmations in the back of the bottle. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know, it's a little, woo-woo or, whatever. But sure enough, every day when I'm shampooing up, I read them. So they are effective. And I'm excited to, like each client, you never know what they're going to bring to the table. But after editing the first couple of episodes, I think it's going to be a solid podcast, and I'm excited for the content coming up. So
awesome.
That's what I got going on. Yeah.
We'll have to check that out. Mark, you got anything going on?
I'm looking forward to Memorial Day weekend when us and a bunch of friends usually get together and, just hang out for the entire weekend and have a grand old time. So
awesome.
Those are some of the best weekends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys camp?
No, we usually just go take over like a VRBO or something like that. We
yeah.
Drink by the pool and, just have a lot of laughs and
boom.
Boom.
All right, folks. Well, we have done it. We have reached the top of the hour. We have reached the top of hour 2.
Oh, you're trying to do sign language like your daughter.
No, I'm definitely not trying to do that. No, I'm just trying to count on my hand, which is still proving to be challenging. I don't know how she does all the extra stuff. I can't even count to 1 and 2. We've reached the top of the hour, the second hour, which means we've reached the end of the show the second time. If you've enjoyed the show, please tell a friend. If you have not, Miss Tiffany.
Sell two.
You can reach out to both of us, even Mark. Hell, Mark will join in too. You can reach out to all three of us over at jfranzi.com. We will be happy to keep the conversation going. And also, join us on the socials. We'd love to talk to you. Miss Tiffany,
Absolutely.
my friend, any final words for us tonight?
Yes. Remember, the next big hit might just be a chord away.
That's beautiful. Mark, we'd like to thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure having you here. It's been
Oh,
fun.
thanks for having me. It was fun to crash, and I felt like I got to hang out with you for the first time in a long, long time. It's great to talk with you, too. So thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, folks, on that note, have a good night.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franzi Show. Make sure you visit us at jfranzi.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives, your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.